Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Betting Truth. It's been a while, right? It has been a while, but with football season coming up and all of that, I felt like it was time to at least bring back the Sports Betting Truth live streams that I used to do to talk sports betting with the audience that I have. So, welcome back, everybody, to Sports Betting Truth. I hope you are excited that I'm back. We got a lot on the schedule today. The first thing I want to talk about is what's the purpose of this channel? Because I know a lot of you guys know what my channel is all about. Most of the people probably tune into my streams know what Sports Betting Truth is about. But for those of you that are new, what sets me, Sports Betting Truth, apart from the other sports betting YouTube channels out there or TV shows you see on TV like Daily Wager or Fox Bet Live is that I operate from the idea that you're probably not going to win betting at sports. When I say probably, I mean very, very low chance. And when I say very, very low chance, I mean like less than 1%. 99% of people who bet on sports are going to lose in the long run. The problem with the others out there is that they operate from the idea that, hey, if you listen to my advice, for example, if you're watching Fox Bets Live, if you watch Fox Bet Live, the idea of watching them is that if you watch them, you're going to win. If you listen to their advice, you're going to win. That's pretty much the idea behind every sports betting related show and YouTube channel, whatever out there. Anything related to sports betting is that listen to me and you're going to win. I don't operate from that perspective because I think it's foolish. Sports books do not exist to lose money. If they were easy to beat, or if they even took just a little bit of effort to beat, they wouldn't exist, or the juice would be so high that it wouldn't be worth playing. Sports books are smarter than you. Markets are smarter than you. Odds makers are smarter than you. And therefore, it's very tough to beat. So you're probably asking, why watch me, Sports Betting Truth, then, if you're not going to tell me what to do to win? Well, that's the thing. Would you rather watch all these other channels and shows out there that say do this and you'll win and you don't win? Or would you rather listen to somebody who talks about sports betting from a realistic perspective and, tells you, okay, like, for example, I'm going to tell you up front, hey, you're probably not going to win, but at the very least, we can talk about sports betting with realistic expectations. It's all about managing expectations, and chances are if you bet on sports, you're probably not going to win, but there's still things you can do to make it fun. There's still things you can do to make it enjoyable, and there's still things you can do to make it worth discussing. So that is what I operate from. It drives me nuts. Fox Bet Live, Daily Wager, all these garbage shows that are on when I'm at the gym or whatever. I see them and, first of all, what gives the people on those shows credibility? Like, what makes them sports betting experts? Do they have a documented track record? How do we know what they're talking about? Well, because most of sports betting media out there is just marketing. That's all it is. It's marketing to get you to buy picks from a tout, watch the channel more, be pitched advertisers. None of it is going to help you win. So from that perspective, that is what Sports Betting Truth is about. Talking about sports betting from a realistic perspective, okay? Which leads me to this next point. I saw a post on the Reddit sportsbook. I don't like Reddit. I'm permanently banned from there. Anytime I make an account, it's permanently banned. But there's a sportsbook subreddit out there that I look at sometimes, and there's a post that said, what are some good cappers out there? What are some good handicappers, right? My response to that is none. There's no such thing as a good handicapper. And I'm not just talking about touts. Yes, all touts are bad. Anyone who sells picks are bad. But the free ones you see on Twitter, Instagram, the ones who give out picks for free, they're just as bad. Here's the issue I have with handicappers, is that if your picks are good enough to beat the books and beat the markets, you would not sell them for anything. You would use those picks yourself and enrich yourself, because giving those away and therefore giving your edges away would risk exposing your edges. So if you had a model or a system that was beating the books long term, you would protect that at all costs. You would not sell that for $25 a pop or even put it in a package. You wouldn't. And so you're like, okay, well, I'll just follow the free handicappers on Twitter or Instagram, the ones who give out picks for free. Well, here's the problem with them. If you have something that has value, you don't give it out for free. So all these free handicappers on Twitter, the free picks you see from like Pick Dogs and stuff on YouTube, anything that has value is not given out for free. So you have to ask yourself, why would somebody give out winning picks for free? Either A, the picks are not winning picks, so they're just giving out picks for other reasons, or B, they're trying to gain a following to eventually turn tout. It's one of the two. So free handicappers have no value either. So if paid touts and free handicappers have no value, why would you use them? Well, you don't. You make picks yourself. It's a losing proposition either way. You pay the tout, your chances are you're going to get losing picks anyway, so it's like paying double because you're paying the tout fees and losing money with the picks. Or you follow the free capper who, A, is not going to give you winning picks because, like I said, if they were winning picks, then they wouldn't be given away for free because you don't give away things for free that have value. Or if they're giving away winning picks, it's not going to last long because eventually they're going to turn tout and you're going to have to find another source. So that leads me to sports betting truth principle number 1. If you're going to make picks yourself. Don't follow any of these garbage handicappers on Twitter. Don't pay a tout. If you're going to make picks, just do it yourself. That's how I feel about it. So there's no such thing as a good free handicapper. Welcome back, Mika Hamari. Mika Hamari is right. The optimal strategy when it comes to sports betting is not to bet at all. And like I said, you're probably wondering, okay, so why would I watch your channel then if you're just telling people not to bet at all? Because like I said, there's still some value, non-monetary value to be derived when it comes to sports betting. There's still enjoyment to be had. I mean, go up 70 miles north of where I'm at right now to WinStar World Casino in Oklahoma across the Red River. Go do that. All the games in that casino are not beatable. You sit down at the blackjack table, you go to the craps table, slot machine, the roulette wheel, any of the table games, it doesn't matter. They all have a hard house edge that means no matter what, you're going to lose long term. Yet people still go because there's still enjoyment to be had. And the same can be said about sports betting. So Cool Bean has something to say about my theory that there's no such good thing as a good capper. He says, I've seen handicappers post picks and then see the line move, so I'm thinking that if the unit is $1,000, but if they sell their picks for 150 people buy it. Well, here's the thing. How do you know the line move is in a direct response to the handicapper releasing a pick? I've always said that about whether it be paid touts or free handicappers. If a handicapper is worth a salt, they're going to move the line whenever they release a play. So if you see a tout or whatever give out a pick and the line doesn't move, it means the book markets don't respect them. So he does make a good point, but you would have to see it consistently. You would have to see consistent line movement upon the release of a pick from a handicapper coming out for them to be correlated with moving lines. Welcome back to the Big Short 08. Yeah, seeing a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Welcome back. I'm glad to be back. Which leads me to the next topic for tonight's show, and that is NFL preseason. I used to get asked this a lot when it came to in the previous years. What are good strategies to bet NFL preseason? Well, I'm going to say the same to this that I have to say about MLB spring training. Anything preseason is don't bet it because the teams are not playing to win. Teams are not playing to win an NFL preseason, just like MLB spring training. They're playing to fill out a roster. They're playing to practice various looks. They're playing to see who's going to make the team. A lot of people say, well, there's good strategies for NFL preseason, like coaches. Some coaches play to win, some don't. It doesn't matter. Not a big enough sample size. There's no coach out there with a big enough preseason sample size, especially in modern preseason where starters play even less these days and only 3 games instead of 4. Man, I think this 69 mega person was on the last stream I did. But just not a big enough sample size for the coaches, especially with the NFL preseason adapting and adapting and adapting. And so I think when it comes to NFL preseason, it's just not to bother. There's nothing to go off of. There's no way to come out with any legitimate angle that can be back tested and proven long term. Now, if you're going to bet NFL preseason, and this goes, pretty much every sport, do it for enjoyment only. Accept the fact that whatever bet you place down is going to be minus expected value. And just accept that. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. But long run, you're not going to come out ahead betting NFL preseason. I don't care what kind of approach or strategy you try to lose. And ignore anybody, especially the touts that say that there is a way to beat NFL preseason, that there are strategies. There's not. It's a total roll of the dice. Trust me. The object for these preseason games is not for these teams to win. So my strategy is don't bother. Don't bother. You're better off betting on a sport like baseball where the teams are playing to win. But even if, good players are going to get a lot of playing time in NFL preseason, I guess the playing devil's advocate of that is, how do you know they're in the game to win? They're playing to win. How do you know they're not in the game to see different looks or try certain things out, test various schemes, blocking patterns? A lot of these teams don't give up a lot in these like I said, it's more of a way to see who's going to make the roster rather than the best players playing to win, which is funny. Because I was watching, I just briefly tuned in the other day. I think it was the Seahawks and the Bears. They were playing a preseason game, and the stands were packed. It was in Seattle. And, all these fans were acting like it was a real game. Yeah, well, SpongeBob, even if the 2012 Eagles did play their starters for the whole game, were they playing to win, or were they playing to get reps, get experience, try out certain things, install plays, see what works, see what doesn't? Yeah, preseason lines do move a lot. You're right about that, Swag Lord. They do move a lot. So if you can get ahead of the line moves, then you can make money, but how do you have a proven system to get ahead of the line moves? For every line you beat, you're going to fall behind on another. So that's a tough one. So that's preseason NFL for you. When does the NFL season start? Like September 8th, I think. September 8th with the Rams and I forgot. The Rams and Bills on September 8th. I've never really been an NFL guy, but I thought the NFL playoffs last year were excellent. And it kind of made me I'm not saying that I'm going to be watching a lot more NFL this year, but at least the playoffs last year kind of made me more of a believer, especially with what the next topic's going to be about, and that's college football. College football is driving me away. And this is coming from someone who played. My dad played. I grew up a big college football fan, always have been. But all this conference realignment, NIL, paying players, TV deals, transfer portal, it's really driving me away. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch college football this year. I'll still tune in every Saturday like I always do. But I feel like there's going to come a day where I don't care anymore because it's no longer the game that I have always enjoyed. It's becoming less and less recognizable these days. So with that being said, let's talk college football week 0. We're starting college football this Saturday with the first game being probably the best game of the day. It's not an impressive slate, but usually week 0 never is. From Dublin, Ireland, we got Northwestern and Nebraska. So obviously make and break season for Scott Frost. Northwestern also looking to rebound from a disappointing year last year. Northwestern's kind of weird. It seems like they have a good year and then they have a bad year. They have a good year and they have a bad year. So they seem like they always alternate good and bad. So if the tradition holds, they're going to have a good year. I'm sure Nebraska fans are going to do a good job traveling to Ireland, unlike Northwestern fans. Before I continue, I just want to answer Tom Lubati's question. Do you get more enjoyment from betting game odds or Major League Baseball daily fantasy or NCAA basketball live bets? All of the above. I would say being in a sports book in Las Vegas, actually holding a paper ticket, is where I get the most enjoyment. But I do like daily fantasy. It's daily fantasy. I'm surprised it hasn't gained more traction. Probably because it's so hard and it's literally a whale and a minnow game. You're either a whale or you're a guppy in daily fantasy, and the whales outnumber the guppies like 1,000 to 1. So it's like there's like the top 0.01% of daily fantasy players who are making money, and the rest of the people are losing money. And that's probably why it doesn't catch on, because people just go bust, and it's hard to win. So, but I think whether it's live betting or game odds, having a paper ticket sitting in a Las Vegas sports book is where I get the most enjoyment. But going back to college football week 0, the rest of the slate, we got Nevada at New Mexico State. So 2 programs with new coaches. Jerry Kill for New Mexico State, and I think Nevada hired Ken Wilson, because I want to say their old guy Mike Norvell took over at Colorado State, I think. Jeez, I forgot. Is it Colorado State? I'm going to have to look this up. I know it was another Mountain West. Yep, Colorado State. That's, probably not going to be a good game, but I'm interested to see how Jerry Kill does there. We got Wyoming at Illinois. Wyoming is absolutely capable of winning that game. Illinois trying to take a step with Brett Bielema. We got UConn and Utah State. That's probably not going to be a very good game. UNC Charlotte at Florida Atlantic. It seems like that game is played every year. It's a conference game, right? And North Texas at UT El Paso. And then the Hawaii game, Vanderbilt at Hawaii. And then we got 4 FCS games: Austin Peay at Western Kentucky, Idaho State Pocatello at UNLV, Duquesne at Florida State, and Florida A&M at North Carolina. Those are the week 0 games. Starting this Saturday. So I haven't even looked at the odds for those games yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is the first time I've seen these odds, period, guys. And I will be giving you the BetMGM line, which aren't up yet. So I'm going to have to give you the current line with Bet365, I guess. So we got Nebraska is plus 13. Am I reading that right? Is Nebraska really expected to be that bad? No, wait, they're minus 13. All right, Nebraska's minus 13. Utah State is minus 27 against UConn. Illinois minus 10 against Wyoming. Florida Atlantic minus 7.5 against UNC Charlotte. North Texas minus 1 at UTEP. Nevada minus 9 at New Mexico State. And Vanderbilt minus 6.5 at Hawaii. So if I was making bets on those games just purely based on eyeballing it, meaning like total gut reaction, it would, don't take these picks seriously at all. Like I said, these are just my gut, so I would not bet with serious money with these. By the way, Rashim, welcome back. How you doing? I would probably go with Northwestern plus 13. Who is Utah State's coach? It's not Anderson anymore. They got rid of Blake Anderson. Okay, it is Anderson. Just a different Anderson. And they won the Mountain West last year. So we got Utah State minus 20. That's a lot of points, though. But, the question is, can Jim Mora get UConn respectable? Because remember how bad they were last year? That's a big number, though. But, gosh. I would go with Utah plus 27. Wyoming plus 10. I would go with that. I would go with UNC Charlotte plus 7.5. I would go with North Texas minus 1. New Mexico State +9, and Hawaii +6.5. So pretty much all the plus numbers I would go with. Just total gut speaking here, except North Texas. Marcus D. Hi, I'm sure you heard this question over and over again. This time it's from me. I have this feeling that due to exploding betting industry is also the games that get fixed more and more. Do you agree? I agree. I say the exploding betting industry has two caveats. One is that with the bet industry exploding, the sports books and the odds makers are going to be a lot more diligent when it comes to creating sharp lines and sharp markets. So they're going to do a lot more to make sure they're not exposed to soft markets. Lines are going to be sharper, not going to be a lot of value. And B, I believe that, yes, that leads to a lot more fixing and point shaving. Now, I can't give you any concrete examples, but I'm sure it's happening right now, and I'm sure it will continue to happen. So, unfortunately, those are the two things. Mark Sports Betting wants to know, do I still bet on sports yourself using your models? No. I have not placed a bet on any sport since April of 2021. I ran my college football model last year, but I was just waiting for it to do good until I actually bet with it, but it never did. And I pretty much semi-retired from sports betting modeling after that, just because of all the work. It takes a lot of work in daily maintenance and upkeep to keep models running. And it just got to the point where it became more stressful. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And I just gave it up. That never say never, maybe one day I'll find myself with a lot of free time and wanting to get back into that. But for now, I am semi-retired from sports betting models. Kind of like how The Rock and WWE is semi-retired from wrestling, but everyone knows he's going to come back for WrestleMania this year. By all means retired. It's a lot of work, and data is a lot harder to come by. 10 years ago, you could get all the data you wanted for free, not so much anymore. That's one of the main reasons. Like that college football model I ran last year, the data source I use is not that great. A lot of missing games, a lot of incorrect stats, a lot of incorrect numbers, and that made it really hard to run a good model. And so you can only go as far as the data you have when it comes to sports betting models. And really, you can't really do much unless the data set you have is complete and error-free. And that's just a lot easier said than done. Which leads me to the next topic of the stream, Las Vegas. Yes, I've gotten some emails about this. By the way, I know a lot of you guys email me, and sometimes they just fall through the cracks. A lot of times your emails get sent to my spam folder, and I just don't see them. So if I don't respond to your emails, don't take it personally. I'll try to get to them. Speaking of which, I'll go to my email right now and just see if there's anything that I haven't read. Gosh, I just get so many emails. But yeah, I'll go through that later. Like I said, a lot of it goes to my spam. But Las Vegas, yes. I am going to be going to Las Vegas for College Football Week 0 and 1 this year. I am leaving on Thursday, and I'm driving here from Fort Worth. I will be in Las Vegas starting Saturday, so I'll be there for College Football Week 0. So all those lines I just read off, I will be betting those games. When I first started this channel 3 years ago, within the first month, I took that trip to Las Vegas and did a vlog about it. For those of you who haven't seen it, I think I called it the No Rules Las Vegas 2019 vlog. And I'll be going again this year. I'll be there Saturday all the way through the next Sunday. So I'll be there for 9 days. No, I'll get there Friday. I'm going to get there this Friday, the 26th. And I'm leaving on Sunday, September the 4th. So I'll be there for about 9 or 10 days. And the whole point of me going is that from 2011 to 2019, every year I would go to Las Vegas for college football week 1. And ever since I started doing a week 0, I go for week 0 as well. And it's always been a tradition of mine. And the whole point of the trip is that that's the 1 week per year that I don't really follow any of the rules when it comes to sports betting. I kind of let myself go crazy, kind of like how people who are on a diet have a cheat meal or a cheat day or whatever. For me, my trip to Las Vegas every year was a cheat week when it came to betting. You know, I'll play parlays, I'll play teasers, I'll do all kinds of crazy things. My gimmick 3 years ago for the vlog is that I place $100 on every college football game. Sometimes some games I put even more than that, but it was at least $100 on every college football game. And the videos I created showed me going around placing all those bets. I'm probably not going to do that this year. I'll probably end up having action on every game, but probably not $100, but I'll put more money. What I didn't do 3 years ago is I didn't really play any parlays or teasers or anything like that. It was just straight bets all the way. I'll probably do more parlays and teasers this year. Like I said, I'd never make parlay and teaser bets. It's not something I do, but it's, this trip is pretty much a 1 week a year. I let myself do that. Yeah. What Heels 187 says, it's pretty much my 1 week a year where I let it ride. However, it's not, it usually backfires, and I'm almost always leave the Las Vegas empty-handed more often than not. And you kind of whenever the trip's over with and you're going home with less money than you came with and lost a lot of those bets where you let it ride, it kind of helps reinstall into your mind that that's why you don't make those bets. Like when you make all these parlay and teaser bets and most of them lose and you lose all this money, you're like, that's why you don't make those bets. It's kind of it kind of gets it out of your system. And it kind of reminds you of why those bets are so bad and why you don't do them. Kind of like a cheat day. I know when I was dieting, to lose weight, and I'd have a cheat day or I'd eat, outside of my diet, I'd always end up feeling like crap afterwards. It never really lived up to the expectations I had set in my mind about eating this awesome meal or having this cheat day or whatever. And I'd always feel like crap afterwards. And then I'd tell myself, that's why I don't eat like that. It's the same concept, same exact concept with betting. I think the last trip I had to Las Vegas where I came out ahead, meaning I won more money than I lost, was 2015. 2015. Because usually week 1 you have a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday slate of games. In 2015, I had a winning Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all 3 nights. And then 2016, I had a winning Thursday and Friday, but I had a losing Saturday that wiped out the gains I had on Thursday and Friday. And then I think 2017, 18, I didn't have a winning Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, none of the above. And then 2019, I had a losing Thursday, a winning Friday, and a losing Saturday. So it's hard, but yeah, 2015 is the last time this no rules approach, I actually won money with it. And then obviously in 2020, I didn't do it because of COVID. And then last year I didn't do it because I just started a new job, didn't have any vacation days to take yet. But every year from 2011 to 2019, I would go to Las Vegas and do it. So I'm doing that this week. I'm leaving on Thursday. I'm going to drive. I'm going to stay overnight in Albuquerque on Thursday and then get to Las Vegas on Friday. I'm staying at the Palms Place like I always do. Seriously, you can find Palms Place condos overlooking the strip on the 35th floor for a really good price. No resort fee on Airbnb. I probably shouldn't be giving that away because, when more people find out about that, then they'll do it more and the value will go away. But, yeah. I will be doing my triathlon training while I'm there. Speaking of triathlon, this isn't triathlon truth. This is sports betting truth. So I'll talk about that more at the end. But I will be doing I'll be continuing my training in Las Vegas, staying at Palms Place. Going to be going to some restaurants, some new and some old. Going to go bowling at Red Rock probably. I'll play some blackjack. I'll play some video poker, and I'll play some craps. But it's going to be a fun week. I'll probably do a vlog of some sort, so keep an eye out for that. How you doing, Jay Bowick? Marcus D, what I'm saying is that parlays and teasers and basically bets that you make off the cuff, winging it, so to speak, bets you make without any kind of rhyme or reason, without any kind of approach, not a good idea. You're going to lose long term easily. But at the same time, it can be very tempting to make bets on impulse. It can be very tempting to make parlay bets and teaser bets and round robin bets and all those kind of exotic bets. It could be very tempting. And I can see why it's so appealing to many. You know, the parlay offers the massive payouts. The teaser offers the generous point spreads. But those bets exist for a reason, and it's not to allow the player to make money. It's allow the sportsbook to make money. Sportsbook make most of their money on parlay bets, especially when it comes to football. Football and parlays are the moneymaker for the books, and that's why the books want you to play parlays, because they make a lot of money from them. So what I'm saying, Marcus D, is that, yes, you need to be careful with every bet you make. You need to have some rhyme or reason as to why you're making that bet. If your strategy, if your goal is to profit long term, then yes. If your goal is not to profit long term, but just to give yourself some entertainment value, you know, to make a game more exciting to watch, then it really doesn't matter what you do. I say that because for a lot of people, when it comes to sports betting, that's why they're doing it. They're going to lie to you. They're going to be like, oh, I'm just trying to make the game I watch more entertaining. But let's be real. If you were told before the game, say you were betting on a game and I told you I'm going to take 10% of every bet you make and give you the rest of your money back, would you still do it? Probably not, because you're going to lose 10% long term. But that's what sports betting is. Unless you have a proven approach, you're going to basically lose about 10% of every bet you make in the long run. So if you bet 100 games at $100 a piece, so that's 10 grand. In the long run, you're probably going to lose about $1,000, $500 to $1,000 in the long run. That's how it is. Oh yeah, Marcus D, absolutely. If you're going wild and betting like I do this 1 week a year in Las Vegas, where you just anything goes, no rules, no rhyme or reason, you're just betting off the cuff. And I'll tell you, I used a model from 2015 to 2019, so those 5 years, I use a model every year to make those bets. I just would use a model to influence my parlay bets or teaser bets, or in 2019's case, $100 bet on every college football game. But I'm not going to this year. No model this year. I'm just going to do it off the cuff. So you should have seen me. I think it was like 2017. 2017, I fly to Las Vegas. I go to the Wells Fargo upon landing, and I take out $5,000 from the ATM. This is really back before sports betting apps became really a thing in Las Vegas. I mean, they existed, but they're still primitive. And I had a stack of parlay and teaser bet slips, like the thickness of this hard drive right here. I like just tons of combinations of college football week 1 parlays and teasers. It was crazy. Like, for example, I called it like the 3-team 11 o'clock, or the 3-team 9 a.m. special, right? So I picked 3 teams at 9 o'clock and picked them all in a parlay. And then I had like the 4-team parlay, I don't know, all day parlay where I picked a game at 9, at 12, at 3, and at 6. So, 4 different teams that are playing at all the different time slots of the day, with the idea being that, if all 3 of them win, it keeps going. And then I do like a 4-team 6 o'clock only parlay, and then like a 4-team 12:30 only parlay. So I had all these different kinds of parlays and teaser combinations. The problem is, since I was using a model, I would get, since I was making so many different parlays and teasers, I would get locked on to certain teams. Like, I want to say in 2017, there was a team that totally sunk me. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I had them in like a lot of different parlays and teasers, and they didn't cover the parlay or teaser, so it sunk like out of that like thick stack of bet slips I have for all these parlays and teasers. I would say it sunk, 15 to 20% of them. And, I couldn't recover from that. However, in 2016, I want to say it was Georgia against North Carolina. I want to say I had them in like 1/3 of my parlays and teasers, and they covered, and they helped out. So that's kind of the downside of making all these parlays and teaser bets when you kind of go crazy and let it ride, is that if it's boom or bust, because there's only so many different combinations you can go with, and if one team is in too many of your parlays and teasers and they lose, then it sinks everything. And that's the issue I ran into specifically in 2017 and 2018. But it benefited me in 2015 and 2016, because I want to say in 2015 I had BYU against Nebraska on like a ton of my parlays and teasers. And that was the game where they won on the Hail Mary at the end. But yeah. I'm trying to remember, who was that team in 2017 that really sunk me? It was, I'm going to remember. It wasn't Wyoming, I know, but they were one, though. Wyoming was a team I had in a lot of different parlays and teasers that year. It was Texas against Maryland. Yeah, it was Texas against Maryland. I want to say Texas is like a 10-point favorite, and my model was like all over them. My model really loved Texas, and Maryland beat them. Oh, yeah. Heels 187. I mean, it might sound like a beginner's better thing. I mean, honestly, the first time I ever bet on sports, the first time I ever went to Las Vegas, for March Madness in 2011, I had no model. I had never bet on sports before. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was winning bets like crazy, just betting with my gut on college basketball. The only time in my life I've ever hit a parlay of 6 teams or more was that first time to Las Vegas in 2011. I've not done it since. I mean, total beginner's luck. And obviously, I didn't think of it that way. I was like, man, I just went to Las Vegas and I was a broke college student at the time, but I definitely made enough money betting on college basketball that week to pay for my trip and then some to Las Vegas. So when I'm flying back to Texas, I was telling myself, geez, that was easy. I mean, man, I could easily make a ton of money doing this. I thought I was a genius, right? I thought I was a genius. I really did. And so I went back, and for college football in 2011, same thing. I totally cleaned up. I was winning money left and right. I was winning all these parlays and teasers. Now, I didn't win a 6-team parlay, but I won like an 8-team teaser. I did very well. I came back in 2012 for March Madness again. Same story. I did very well. So my first 3 trips to Las Vegas, no model, no nothing, just betting with my gut, making all kinds of impulse bets and parlay and teaser bets and all of that on college basketball and college football. I did very well. Made a lot of money. And so after that third trip, I was like, geez, I'm doing so well. I mean, I could make this a lifestyle. I mean, all 3 times I've come here, I've won a lot of money. So when I moved there in 2012, not to become a full-time sports bettor or anything like that, I moved there for work. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to move here. I'm going to make a lot of money on the side betting on sports. And so the first couple weeks when I had moved to Las Vegas and I was betting on sports, I did pretty well. You know, I remember I had a really good night betting on baseball one night, like on totals. I went 13-2 or something like that on baseball totals on a Tuesday night. And then I want to say it was a Saturday at the Westgate. I was ultra confident betting on baseball in 2012, and I made 5 big baseball bets. You know, big for me at the time, like 3-figure numbers. And I lost all 5 of them, and it felt like that was kind of like the beginning of the end. And I was like, okay, well, that's baseball. Football season's starting up pretty soon. And the first week of college football in 2012, I didn't really make a trip there that year because I was already living there. But same concept. I went crazy with parlays and teasers. And week one, I did very well. I hit a 6-team teaser and a 5-team parlay that opening Thursday night. Week 1, I did very well. And I was like, oh, it's just because baseball. But football is my thing. I'm going to make a ton of money betting on college football, right? And then week 2, I won the Thursday game between Cincinnati and Pitt. But then that week 2 Saturday, it all went south, and I never recovered. I had a losing college football week every single week for the rest of 2012. So outside of week 1, I didn't have a single winning week. And so that's kind of when I realized that I had beginner's luck when I first started betting on sports. And I'm sure that's how it goes for a lot of people. There's only 2 outcomes you can have when you first bet on sports. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. And the people who lose are going to say, well, you know, I'll figure it out eventually. But the people who win think they're geniuses. And that was me. I mean, it took me a while to finally lose. Given the approach that I had taken betting on sports when I first started, I had a very long run of beginner's luck. Very long run. And it caught up to me eventually, but it allowed me to get a very big head. A very big head. But finally, after a while, I realized that it was beginner's luck, and the approach that I was using was not going to cut it, and that's when I started getting into modeling. That's kind of when I realized you can't do this just betting with your gut or your knowledge or what you learn watching games. You're going to need some kind of mathematical statistical approach, and that's when I started getting into modeling. And even then, I didn't have a profitable season in any sport using a model until 2017 college football. So even after the light turned on in 2012, it took me 5 years to come up with a model that won me money for an entire season. Oh, yeah. I mean, Heels 187, I was betting like $5 and $10 a game the first time I went to Las Vegas. Like, I was betting the minimums on sports. I mean, I was a poor college student. So the fact that I came home with like $1,300 after my first Las Vegas trip in 2011 should tell you how well I did betting $5 and $10 a game. I mean, that 8-team parlay I hit in college basketball was what? I won like what, $1,400 on that alone? So yeah, beginner's luck is a real thing. Yeah, Jay Boak has the right approach. If you go into sports betting trying to win a certain amount of money, if you're like, I'm going to bet on sports and I'm going to win this much, you know, if you have a target that you're trying to win, you're never going to be satisfied. Because chances are you're not going to win that target. And even if you do, you're going to be like, well, if I won that much with this approach, I can win more. And you're going to raise your expectations. You're going to raise your limit. You're going to become greedy. And that's kind of how it works when you're doing very well. I've had stretches using successful models in specifically college basketball. I mean, my most successful betting stretches ever, 2018, January 2018 college basketball, December 2019 college basketball, and then February 2021 college basketball. They've all been college basketball, but 3 stretches where I felt like I couldn't lose. I mean, you guys saw on this channel in 2021, I was hitting college basketball second half live bets at like a 65% clip for a 3-week span or so. And I felt like I couldn't lose. But whenever you're really on one of those heaters, every time you're like, well, if I'm doing this well, it's very easy to fall in the trap of, man, I have it all figured out. I'm leaving money on the table if I don't bet more, considering how well this approach is doing. Like in 2021, college basketball second half and live betting that I would do on this channel, where I was winning 65% of my bets for a 3-week span. I remember I probably went like 14 days in a row where I didn't have a losing night at all. Like, I was just winning hand over fist. And I was like, this is like taking candy from a baby. And at the end of all those nights, I'd be like, I'm leaving money on the table. I need to start betting more. It's clear that my approach has proven itself. And I remember that first night that I raised my bet size. Like, I think I was betting like $200 a game. I raised it to 400. And I went 7-15. I pretty much gave back like the past 5 or 6 days of profits. Murphy's Law of sports betting. Whenever you think you have it figured out and you have a proven approach and you raise your bet size, that's when the gravy train comes to an end. Now, that night where I went 7-15 was a blip, because I want to say the next 6 nights after that I had winning nights. But I reverted back to betting $200 a game. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it's very easy to fall into the trap that you have it all figured out whenever you're on a successful run, because you're going to get greedy. You're going to be like, I should be betting more. I'm leaving money on the table. And it's a trap. It's a trap. Just like, how do I put it? But if you're not hitting that target, so if you set out trying to win a certain amount of money and you're not getting there, you can fall into the trap of trying to chase. So that's why I say, if you're trying to win a certain amount of money when you're betting on sports, you're setting yourself up for failure no matter what. Go in with no expectations at all. No expectations at all. All right, Rashim wants to know, what's my outlook on Notre Dame with their new coach? I don't know if he's the guy for the job. I don't. I mean, by all means, he seems like a good guy, respectable guy. But for Notre Dame to roll the dice on a guy like that with no head coaching experience, I worry that it might become another like Charlie Strong situation at Texas in a way where the job's too big for him. Perhaps should have gotten a smaller head coaching job first. We'll see. But I scratched my head with that hire. I did. Heels 187. I thought I was a genius when I first started out with early success as a beginner with no model, nothing. Exactly. I mean, like I said, my first 3 trips to Las Vegas, I came home like a lot more money than I went there with. And I just thought, wow, this is so easy. Betting with nothing but my gut. But it all catches up to you eventually. That run, a lot of people don't even enjoy that beginner's luck. They lose right from the start. But I think it's more dangerous for you to have beginner's luck because you become accustomed to that and you think that's the norm. You don't start off with that bad taste in your mouth. Like, I remember the first time I played blackjack when we were in Phoenix for the Fiesta Bowl with TCU, and me and some of my teammates went to Casino, Arizona, and we played blackjack. And I bought $100 worth of chips, and I lost that $100 worth of chips in like 10 hands, betting $10 a hand. I lasted maybe a dozen hands, if that. And I was like, geez, that sucks. $100 just gone like that. And, like I said, I was a college student at the time. I wasn't making any money. So to lose $100 in 2009 was a big deal, and I lost it very quickly. However, one of my other teammates, Colin Jones, is he still in the NFL? He played for the Panthers for quite a while. He was sitting next to me, and he won like $500. He could not lose a hand. We both bought in for $100, but he turned his 100 into 500, and my 100 went out like quickly. So Colin had that beginner's luck. He got that taste in his mouth that, oh, this is easy. And meanwhile, I didn't. So I think it's better for someone betting on sports for the first time to lose, because then they don't come to expect winning as the norm. Yep. Notorious Swaggy. Getting greedy can apply to stocks as well. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Greed can apply to anything. If you have a set amount of money you're trying to make, you're always going to be disappointed. Jay Boak, I lost 18 straight bets like 2 years ago. My worst stretch ever was bad. Yeah, I had a college basketball stream last year where I went like 3-29 or something. And I made a video about it the next day. But yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. CD, I buy picks from Dick Crocco. He's the best, especially college hoops. All right, I'm sure Dick Crocco is a CD. I'm sure they're the same people. Jay Boak, funny thing about sports betting, rarely remember wins. You always remember your tough losses. That is true. That is true. I mean, I've had some good wins. I had UCLA money line against Texas A&M back in 2017 when they were down, 44-7 or something like that, and came back and won. I've had some great wins, but you really remember the bad losses. I mean, I was on the losing end of onside kicks returned for touchdowns in college football in 2019. It happened to me twice in the span of a week. Like, an onside kick being returned for the touchdown in college football is extremely rare. But not only did it happen twice in a span of a week, it made the difference in a game covering and not covering. And it happened to be 2 bets that I was on the wrong side of. What are the odds of that? So you definitely remember your worst losses more than your best wins for sure. Mika Hamari, heads and tails come many times in a row. It's part of the randomness of coin tossing. Randomness is not typically heads, tails, head, tails, head, tails, but more like head, heads, tails, tails, heads, heads, tails. Yep. That's why roulette tables, baccarat tables, they try to fool you with those video boards that show like what the last 15 outcomes were or whatever. They're trying to fool people into thinking that randomness is linear and not random. So if you're looking at that board above the roulette table that shows that the ball's landed on black the last 8 spins, people are going to be more likely to place a bet on red. However, outcomes are independent. I mean, I've seen it happen in a casino many times where people are just walking by and they see that on the roulette board, like, red's been landed on 10 times in a row, and they'll stop and quickly put a chip on black. Bob Sanders thinks we all live in a coded simulation. If you bet more, notice how bad beats happen more often. There's metaphysical punishment for greed. That's how it's coded. I mean, he says if you're responsible with your bankroll, you're less likely to be punished by the code. Well, I don't know about the simulation, but naturally you're going to remember your bad beats more. And I've said this a lot on this channel, but I'm going to say it again. I would rather lose less money than win more money. When I say that, I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where I went like 10-0 one night. I was on a heater, and I'm telling myself, man, I wish I bet more money. I've been on that side before. And I've also been on the side before where I went like 1-9, and I was like, and I bet too much money, and I was like, man, I shouldn't have bet that much money. Losing too much for me hurts worse than winning but wishing you had won more. Like the mental pain that I had that one night where I doubled my bet size when I was on a heater and I went 7-15 and lost like the past 5 nights worth of profit. That feeling sucked a lot more than the days before that where I was like, man, I should have bet more. I left money on the table. I would always pick losing less money than winning more money. Limiting the downside rather than maximizing the upside. Any day of the week. Any day of the week. Does that make sense? I mean, I hope it does, because that's kind of what Bob Sanders is coming at. You're less likely to be punished, so to speak, if you're responsible with your bankroll. And I agree. No matter what you're doing, whether you're betting with your gut, whether you're betting with a system or a model, no matter what, you need to practice good bankroll management. Don't overbet your bankroll. Don't get greedy. Don't chase losses. Don't double your bet size without good reason. That's where a lot of people get into trouble. That's where a lot of people get into trouble, is when they overbet their bankroll. Whether they're trying to win more money or chase losses. If you can just avoid doing that, you're going to be in better shape than most people, even if you don't win long term. SpongeBob says stocks might be worse to be in than sports betting right now. I think I agree with that. I think the stock market is gambling. I'm sorry, it is. That's what it is. And I really don't think there's a proven way out there to come up with profitable stocks, just like there's no proven way out there to come up with profitable sports bets. It's just another way to bet money. There's a reason I haven't really gotten into the stock market. Notorious Swaggy wants to know, do you think it's easier betting on Predicted than on actual sports? Yes and no. I do think there's some markets out there that can give you a pretty guaranteed return of like 10% on Predicted. Like I think specifically governor's races that are insulated from national DC politics. Like right now, you can get what I think is a guaranteed 13% return on Texas governor by betting Beto O'Rourke no or Greg Abbott yes. I think you can get a guaranteed 8% return if you bet yes on Ron DeSantis governor in Florida. I think betting Carrie Lake to win the Arizona's governor's race is a wise one, even though she's only at 52 cents. I do think she's should be closer to 66 cents right now. Really state rate, but national races. There's some national races that I believe are, I think you can get a 23% return on Ohio Senate right now betting J.D. Vance yes. I think you can get a 13% return on Marco Rubio yes in Florida Senate. But here's the problem. Here's where Predicate can become dangerous. And I've been saying this for a while now. I don't want to turn this into a political stream, but I'm just answering Notorious Swaggy's question. Mitch McConnell is and Kevin McCarthy are sabotaging races in which a candidate is running on the Republican side that will not be loyal to them. They would rather lose those races and blame Trump and blame the, populist America First movement than win those races and have those candidates not be loyal to them. We're seeing that play out. And that's why a lot of these markets are shifting and back towards the Democrats, because the Republican leadership doesn't actually want to win some of these races. And so that can make it very hard to predict national politics. It does. So that's the thing, is that in sports, at least theoretically, what you're betting on is teams to win. Now, I know you can bring up point shaving and fixing games and all that, but at least for the most part, that's what you're getting. Your two teams are trying to win a game. Politics is a lot more complex than that. There's a lot more at play. So with that being said, I've done very well and predict it throughout since I started using it in 2016. But that's because I had a long career in working in TV and political consulting and all that. So I see things that other things might not see on the surface. So hope that answered your question. Mark, sports betting. Do you think DFS is more profitable than sports betting in the long term? I think if you have a proven approach in DFS, which is very difficult, because like I said about DFS, the whale to minnow ratio in DFS is very large. The only people making money in DFS are the whales. If you can become a whale and have a system that beats all the minnows out there and other whales, basically if you're beating other whales and you're turning them into minnows, then yeah, it's a lot more profitable than sports betting long term. That's the hard part, though, is that it's just as hard to become a whale in DFS than it is to become a profitable sports bettor. I mean, I thought I had a pretty good baseball Monte Carlo model in 2020 and 2021, and I couldn't win any money on baseball DFS. I mean, I did for a while, but in the long run, I couldn't sustain it. So I would say you can make more money in DFS if you're profitable, if you become a whale, but it's kind of like pyramid schemes. You got to be at the top. It's very hard to get there. Jay Boak is right. If you win a bet and you're like, man, I should have bet more, you're mad for a few seconds. But if you lose a bet and you're like, man, I bet too much, you're mad for a while. Yeah, absolutely right. I remember the first time I went up to WinStar World Casino when I was in college. I went up there with some of my football teammates, and I took my tax return with me. It was like $400. And like I said, $400 to me was a lot at the time. $400 going up to WinStar. And, I sat down at the blackjack table, and I was up like $300, right? I was doing very well. And I could have walked. I thought about walking. I was like, you know what? I've made $300. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep playing. And all of a sudden that $300 turned back into zero. And I'm like, at least I didn't lose any money. I thought about, stopping there, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep playing. And before you know it, I had lost all $400, my entire tax return at the blackjack table. That drive back to Fort Worth, about an hour, 15 minutes was not fun. And I was mad at myself for like the next few days. Had I, cashed out at $300 or even zero, I would have been pissed off at myself for not trying to get more for a few seconds. But losing $400, which was a lot of money to me at the time in 2010, that sucked. That sucked. Michael Kratville, every former athlete recalls losses, not wins. We lost 2 national title games to Clemson and Miami in my 3 varsity years, but the wins fade away over time. Absolutely right. I mean, me being at TCU, we won the Rose Bowl. Big deal. But I remember our loss to Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl just as much. I remember our loss to Utah the year before that just as much. And in my high school days, I remember we went 3-7 all my years in high school. You remember the losses. They stick with you. Yep, SpongeBob, like I said, you might be leaving money on the table, but that's preferable to losing a lot of money. Rasheem, you should start a fantasy football league for some of your subscribers. I don't know. I wouldn't participate. That's the problem. Yeah, I'm just not a big fantasy football guy. I mean, I've been in leagues in the past at work and stuff and with friends, but it's just something I've never really gotten into. Heels 187, $400 buys a lot of pizza. It sure does. That $400 could have gone a long way for me back in 2010. I mean, I worked in the summer, and I worked for the Fort Worth Cats minor league baseball team on the grounds crew. Manual labor out in the Texas summer heat for, 8 hours a day, making like $10 an hour, $15 an hour if I got to overtime. That's a whole week of work right there, $400. Whole week of manual labor, mowing grass, weed killing, and painting, building pitcher's mounds and repairing home plate. Working on the grounds crew of a baseball field takes a lot of work. Bob Sanders, even your potential actions in the future, you're more likely to commit factors into why some people get luckier than others. I don't know about that. I don't know. But anyway, I was hoping to keep the stream to an hour, and we're coming up a little bit over an hour. So like I said, I will be in Las Vegas starting on Friday. Maybe I'll do a stream from Las Vegas. I haven't ruled it out. We will see. I won't have all my equipment and everything, but we'll see. I might do a stream or two while I'm in Las Vegas. Maybe I'll go on before I make my bets when I'm there and, walk through the list of games and place money on them. I won't do that now because lines are going to change between now and then, but maybe that will be a fun stream to do. Triathlon. Yes, I'm still training for an Ironman. I just didn't want to talk about that in the stream at the beginning, but my Ironman's 8 weeks away. I did a 70.3 yesterday, so a 70.3 is a half Ironman. And what an experience that was. So a half Ironman, what I did yesterday was a 1.2 mile swim, 56 mile bike, and a 13.1 mile run. I did that yesterday. It was a workout. I burned about 6,500 calories, but it was a comedy of errors. So for the swim, I wore my wetsuit, which is a really bad idea. I wore my wetsuit to prevent my triathlon suit from getting wet on the bike, but it didn't really matter. It was wet anyway, but the reason it was a bad idea is because the water temperature was too high, so I overheated. So my heart rate was out of control on the swim. When I'm dead sprinting on the track, my heart rate gets to 182. That's what my heart rate was yesterday on the swim. And I wasn't really even swimming that hard because my body was overheating. And because of that, when I got out of the lake, I could not breathe and I couldn't get my wetsuit off. And I felt like I was suffocating. Thankfully, there were some Fort Worth police officers there that saw me and helped me get the wetsuit off. I don't know what I would have done without them. So after that, I did a 56-mile bike ride. The problem was it started pouring down rain about halfway through, and I just got these tires put on my bike, and they're called Gator Skins. And I got them put on because the gimmick of Gator Skins is that they're a lot more puncture resistant than a typical tire. And I put them on because I'm getting ready to go to Las Vegas and ride my bike around there with a lot more things that can puncture a tire, like cactus needles, thorns. But the downside is they don't have as much traction. So I'm there slipping and sliding around. It's a lot hard. I had to brake a lot sooner. not go as fast. And so about mile 53 or 3 miles to go, I had to stop at train tracks because the train was coming through. And I just totally skidded and wiped out. And I crashed. And so I have like bruises all over the left side of my body right now. Not only that, but I have a knee injury that I've been dealing with the past couple weeks. I have runner's knee, which means the tendons around my kneecap are all inflamed and my kneecap won't stay in place. So I have to tape that into place and then put a brace over it. But the problem was, since it was raining, the tape that I had over my kneecap came off. And so I only had the brace. So it still hurt, but I had to suck it up. And so I finished the bike and I start running and the rain stopped. So for the first 10 miles of the run, it was no rain, but then it started to pour down rain again. Total downpour. So the last 3 miles of the run, my shoes were soaking wet and heavy, raining real hard. And because the GPS on my watch got kind of confusing, I went the wrong way. And so I finished the run. I'm done with the workout. It took me like 6.5 hours start to finish. I'm 3 miles away from my car. And it's dark. It's pouring down rain, severe thunderstorm, flooding, lightning, wind. I had to walk 3 miles back to my car. I couldn't call anybody or get an Uber because my phone was so wet and my hands were so wet that I couldn't get the screen to work. So I had to walk 3 miles in the dark, pouring rain, lightning, wind, thunder. I thought I was going to get struck by lightning. Cars were driving by me and just splashing water all over me. I was totally drenched. Finally get back to my car. Oh yeah, and the reason I have my tire off is because the back tire went flat. I need to fix that. I get back to my car, I get some food, and I can't get back to my apartment because all the roads are closed because of flooding. So I had to like find a route to get back to my apartment, which took like an hour. Get back to my apartment. I eat the food, but since my stomach was so upset because I was dehydrated and had pretty much eaten nothing but like sugar and gels and workout food all day, like my stomach was upset, so I threw up. And that was my day yesterday. That was my day yesterday. So, today's my off day, but I'm going to get back at it tomorrow. I have a bike ride tomorrow, but I got to get a new tube put in here because there's a puncture. So I got these gator skins a week ago, and I've already had 3 punctures. So whatever they say about it being more puncture resistant is a lie. But anyway, yeah. That was my 70.3 experience yesterday, and I have a full Ironman, which is pretty much double what I did yesterday in 8 weeks. And I've been pretty tired. That 70.3 is no joke, but anyway, I will be in Las Vegas starting Friday. I'm hoping to do a stream or 2 while I'm there, so stay tuned for more sports betting truth. Thank you guys for tuning into the return live stream. I'm glad that I was able to come back. We're going to do this more. I'm going to try to do it once a week. We'll see, though. I don't want to make any promises because, like I said, I still have 8 weeks left of Ironman training, which wears me out, takes a lot of my time. And so I don't want to make any like set schedule or set promises, but just keep an eye out for when the streams come up, and I will be here to talk about sports betting and answer your questions. So thank you, everybody, for coming back to the Sports Betting Truth Return stream. Hopefully I will see you live.